Hi friends, Father Carey here. This is another Holy Spirit moment, this one exploring an age-old question. Do the wicked really prosper? If we look at the world around us today, it would seem that they do. Tech bros live lives of lavish extravagance, while millions and millions of people barely get by economically. Politicians seem intent upon exercising power for their own advantage. They grift and they lie and they steal and they manipulate. And on lesser interpersonal levels, we all know people who seem to connive their way through life and succeed at it, whereas honest, good, decent people frequently do not. There is something about this asymmetry, this imbalance, that is offensive. If one believes in a God, one might well ask, why would God permit this? And if we don't believe in a God, our sense of justice is still offended. It just doesn't seem fair that the wicked prosper while the non-wicked, the innocent, do not. This particular question was explored in an existential way by a Roman patrician and philosopher named Boethius. Boethius served under the Ostrogothic king Theodoric the Great. This was in the Western Empire in its latter days. Boethius fell from grace with Theodoric, almost certainly through no real fault of his own. Theodoric threw him in prison, and around 526 AD had him clubbed to death. While Boethius sat in prison awaiting what was almost certainly going to be his execution, he wrote a manuscript that has become famous. It's called the Consolation of Philosophy. And what he's basically trying to do in that treatise is to ask and answer the question, do the wicked prosper? The wicked seem to be happy and they seem to be powerful, but are they really? In this particular book, what Boethius does is invite Lady Philosophy, reason, wisdom, to come in and instruct him in order to help him understand why it is that this has happened to him personally and why it is that the world is the way it is. So the first question of the two that Boethius is concerned with, are the wicked really happy? Lady Philosophy says to Boethius that the universe is ordered. When God creates the universe, according to the book of Genesis, God looks at everything that God creates and calls it tov. The Hebrew word tov is a wonderful one. It means not only good, as in morally good, righteous, but it can also mean beautiful or comely. And it also means fittingness. So when God looks at creation, God declares it good and beautiful and orderly fittingness, systemic. Everything is harmonious within it. Reality, physical reality then, is imbued with a sense of harmony. Human beings, because they are part of creation, are likewise tov. We are made in the image of God, imago Dei, and as a consequence, we are hardwired, we are stamped with godlike qualities. And if we pursue those godlike qualities, such as love and compassion, for example, then we too live in harmony with everything that is. We dwell in harmony with God's overarching plan. And when we do that, we are happy. All human beings crave happiness, and the key to happiness is to be in accord with the way in which we are made as imago Dei. But some people, Lady Philosophy tells Boethius, do not want to live in that way. They live contrary to the hardwire of the image of God that they carry around with them. They do not pursue virtue. They are not interested in excellence. They are not interested in genuine good. Instead, what they do is to pursue lesser unworthy goods, thinking that these goods will make them happy. Why do they do this? Well, Lady Philosophy says there might be three possible motivations. Some people are just ignorant of what the good is, and so they pursue goods that aren't good. Or some people are just slothful. They're too lazy, too indifferent to follow virtue, to pursue that which will fulfill them in accordance with the kind of creature that they are. But some humans are just rebellious. There is something within them that seems to resist and indeed to defy the way in which God made them. And they are the most dangerous ones of all. One suspects that Boethius believed that Theodoric was in this particular category. Because these kinds of individuals, wicked individuals, will not embrace the God image which they have within them, they begin to take on the identities of the vices that they do embrace. So, for example, those wicked people who are especially rapacious and vicious take on wolf-like characteristics. Or those people who are ignorant or slothful take on the stupidity of a jackass. Or those people who are greedy and want to manipulate others in order to grab as much as they can for themselves take on the identity of hogs. They no longer are creatures who exude the image of God. They are now something less than human. And as a consequence, they are not happy. Because in order to be happy, something needs to live in accordance with what it is. The heavens do that. The natural world does that. The only part of God's creation which does not do that, or at least is capable of not doing that, is humanity. Because humanity occasionally will resist the image of God that it carries and fall into wickedness. And as a consequence, will be less than fully human and less than fully happy. Money, power, fame are all ephemeral. They're all contingent. They are fleeting goods. And to bank one's entire existence upon possessing them is to build one's house upon sand. So, Lady Philosophy assures Boethius that even though the wicked appear to be happy, there is something broken inside them which precludes genuine and complete happiness. Well, the second question, are they powerful? Are they strong? Lady Philosophy answers that one in the negative as well. They're not only not powerful and strong, she tells Boethius, they're not even quite human anymore. Now, she's already hinted at this by saying that in the pursuit of the vices that they pursue, they take on animal-like qualities and animal-like identity. But now she goes even further. Let me read you part of what she says, because it's really quite stunning and I think insightful. She says of wicked people, they abandon goodness and turn to vice knowingly and willingly. In this way, they not only cease to be powerful, here it comes, but they cease to be at all. Men who give up the common goal of all things that exist, that is, living in harmony with God's creation, pursuing the good. Men who give up the common goal of all things that exist, thereby cease to exist themselves. I'm not trying to deny the wickedness of the wicked. What I do deny is that their existence is absolute and complete existence. Just as you might call a corpse a dead man, but couldn't simply call it a man, so I would agree that the wicked are wicked, but could not agree that they have unqualified existence. A thing exists when it keeps its proper place and preserves its own nature. Anything which departs from this ceases to exist, because its existence depends on the preservation of its nature. So, the wicked are not powerful. They're barely human, as a matter of fact, even though they look as if they are. No, what they are wraiths, what Buddhists sometimes call hungry ghosts. They are addicts of a certain kind. They may not be addicted to chemical drugs, but they are addicted to the unworthy goods that they pursue. And like all addicts, their habituation to that which is not good for them progressively empties them of humanity. How should we respond to the wicked? The wicked who, despite appearances, are neither happy nor powerful. Well, according to Lady Philosophy, what we need to do is to exert some spiritual medical care. These people who fall into wickedness have forgotten who they are, have forgotten their genuine natures. They are like the shades of the dead who drink of the waters of Lethe. Lethe is the river that encircles Hades, and whoever drinks of its waters forget who they are. What we need to do is to find a way to awaken those tamped down memories on the part of the wicked so that they can recall who they are, a process of amnesis, and then begin to pursue that which is genuinely in their interest, which is genuinely good, and which will genuinely bring them happiness. It's very interesting that the Greek word for truth, aletheia, is a negation of the word lethe, the river of forgetfulness. So what we want to do is to bring these wicked people into the truth by helping them to recollect who they are, to overcome what Boethius calls the infection of wickedness. And we do this through pity, through compassion, and through love. This isn't in any way whatsoever, my friends, to discount the cruelty that wicked people can inflict on others or the suffering of their victims. Please don't think that Boethius is trying to whitewash either of those. It's simply that he wants to say that people who are wicked are suffering from an infection, and the way to help them overcome that infection is through the medicine of pity and compassion. What we are called to do then, when we encounter wicked people, is to try and help them retrieve their humanity, to remember who they are and what they were made for, to help them recollect. I think this is not a bad way of thinking about the question of whether or not the wicked prosper. Appearances suggest that they do, but what Boethius is suggesting to us is that there's something so broken inside of a person who turns to wickedness that they can never truly be happy, and that their apparent power is as ephemeral and contingent and non-satisfying as the vices they pursue. I really do invite you to take up Boethius' little book, The Consolation of Philosophy. It's not an extremely easy read, but it is an immensely rewarding one. And it is astounding to think that it was written by a man who 2,000 years ago was facing a horrible death, but could still realize that people are not wicked irretrievably, but only, as it were, accidentally. I'm Father Carey, and this has been another Holy Spirit moment. Thank you, my friends, for watching. If you're so minded, I invite you to subscribe to Holy Spirit Moments. But whether you do or you don't, I'll see you again soon. Take care and God bless. Bye-bye.